Yes, this is the day that the Lord has made. We shall rejoice and be glad in it. Once again, this is your pastor and your friend, Bishop Mark Karaoke, for a long time, but coming to your home every Wednesday through One Accord Television and through the Open Talk. Open Talk is a program that is aimed to bring information to you based on the Word of God, to bring in correction, maybe a rebuke, maybe entertainment, or whatever you want. We come and we just talk. We talk, or you talk, or we hear one another. And in the talking, you will be able to grasp that which God wants you to hear. Because again, faith comes by hearing. That's why we bring in different guests who give us their stories, and from their story, your faith is built up. From the word that they share with us, your faith is built up, or your confidence is enhanced, and you are able to look ahead and say, if they made it, I will make it. And again, tonight, I pray that you open up your spirit, because we have a very, very special couple. I told you that Open Talk is founded on the Word of God, and we value the family. That's why we bring in couples. Not that we will not bring in people who are not married, we will do that. But for now, we have a very, very special couple, servants of God who are ministering the Word of God powerfully in the city of Machakos International. Machakos, that's where they are ministering. This is Pastor Steve and Monica Turunga.
Yes, sir.
Turunga is not a common name.
Turunga, I think I only find it in our family.
In your family?
If anyone has that name, we planted seeds.
Oh, okay. Maybe you tell us more about that name. Now, Pastor Steve and Monica are pastoring Deliverance Church, the City of Prayer in Machakos, and at the same time, Mount Zion in Machakos. They, like me, have two different locations, but the same church, but with a different name. Same church, different name, different identities, but doing very well to the glory of God. Thank you so much, Pastor. You're welcome to Open Talk. Si unaweza kusalimia watu.
Now, mine is to say that this Wednesday night we are so honored and so humbled to be invited here. For us, it's a dream come true to be seated with Bishop Dr. Mark Karaoke. Even if there was no talking, just the open, asking him openly is more than enough for us. We are so honored, Bishop.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. Monica, why don't you greet our viewers?
Amen.
Thank you so much. Good to be here. Such a great honor this Wednesday night to be seated with our overseer, Dr. Bishop Mark Karaoke. And before we came Bishop, you can imagine the many times we visited the toilet because of the tension. It's an honor being here with you. We are grateful.
Thank you so very much. You know, this is Open Talk.
Yes, sir.
And in Open Talk, you talk, I talk.
Yes.
We hear one another.
Yes, sir.
And as you share your story, somebody's life is being touched by your story. As you open up, somebody is being touched by your opening up.
Yeah.
Now we move on, Steve.
Yes, sir.
Tell us, who is Steve Turunga?
Wow.
Where were you born? Where were you brought up?
Yes, sir.
And such like things.
I'm born in Othaya. I'm born in Othaya, Nyeri, 4 decades ago. I'm born to a single mother. Raised up by my grandmom. I'm told that my mom had to come to Nairobi to look for money while I was 7 months, so I breastfed for 7 months. So I'm born and raised in Othaya, then raised up by my grandmom. Coincidentally, my grandmom also raised me when she recently became a widow. So my grandpa passed on before I was 1 year. And my mom left me after 7 months to come to Nairobi. So I'm born and raised in Othaya, then raised up by my grandmom. So as I was growing, my grandmom also was growing into life without my grandfather. So that's how I was raised. So I'm raised alone. So by the time I was coming in, my uncles had also grown and moved on. So I'm raised as an only child.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm raised as an only child.
Do you have siblings?
Now, my younger sister, we are 20 years age difference. There's a 20-year age difference, so it's hard for me to call her my sister. It's easier to call her my daughter. Yeah, we have a 20-year gap between me and her, but same mother, different fathers. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's quite a life.
Yes,
and Monica,
yes,
did I tell you my mother, my daughters, my nieces are all called Monica?
Wow.
So, and when I was growing up, we never called our mother or mommy. We just called her by name, Monica.
Monica.
So we used to, Monica, we used to sing those things when she was coming from the Shaba, from different places. So I'm so glad to see you.
Thank
Where
you.
were you born, and who is Monica? Monica wa Turunga.
Thank you, Bishop. And it's good to share a name with your mother. So Monica was born and brought up in Nairobi. And when people hear someone is born and brought up in Nairobi, they think you are from this well-up family. But you'd imagine, Bishop, I used to live in either Isili or Mathare. That's why we used to interchange. When the month is so bad and the year is so bad, our parents are not earning, we'd move to Mathare. Then when the income increases, we move to the next street, which is Isili. So that's how we were brought up. We are 4 girls, brought up by pastors. My parents are pastors, but those pastors that, in those days, they were never earning anything from the church. And we have been brought up in one room all my life. Actually, I saw my first 1-bedroom house when I got married. Yeah, I tried to explain that to my daughters and to my children, that living in one house, and they ask me, Mommy, what do you mean? Bedroom ni gani, kitchen ni gani? So that is how I've been brought up.
Wow.
In their poverty, we used to buy cooking oil, ile ya kupima, so that karatasi would be our last cooking oil you put on the skuma, and you have oil for that meal. But we thank God for the journey.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, it's quite an interesting journey. We'll hear more about it. But we want to say thank you so much for coming. Now, you are brought up by your grandmother.
Yes.
So did you go to school?
Well, I think the bulk of who I am right now can best be explained by how I was raised up. Because I know there are many of us. There are many of us even outside there that can relate with how I was raised up, because I was not raised up by a mother. My mom was absent because of money, generating an income. Then I didn't have a father. I didn't have a grandfather. I didn't have a brother. I didn't have a sister. My uncles had gone. So I was only raised in one house with my grandmother. And what they don't tell us, you come to know it afterwards, is that whatever happens in your back days, it always reflects in your after years. Because at times I see things that she can tell you that the best company I have is myself. I love being alone because that's the way I was raised. So at times when they are going to visit my father-in-law, I actually take them willingly and voluntarily. So because once they go is when I'm in a crowd right now. So I was raised up alone. My grandmother didn't go to school. So I didn't even have anyone to ask me about homework. I remember one time she told me, if you want to study, study. If you don't want to study, don't study. Because she doesn't know what homework is. She doesn't know how to check the homework. If I come home and tell her I was number 1, she has no way of proving I was not number 1. But I think the thing here is you grow up knowing that that's how life is supposed to be. Then later on in life, you meet, like the way I meet my wife, and she's raised up in a family with a father and a mother, and she has 3 other sisters. Now, the kind of life she was raised up in, for me, is foreign. I don't know what it is to fight for food. She will tell you even now in weddings, I don't queue for food. Because I was raised up knowing every food in this house is mine. All the attention in this house is mine. So the way I was raised up, like, and I don't know, it's like it's becoming now a norm, and we may not have a lot to do about it, where, children are raised up in a single mother's family, single father's family. I think it's good for people to know and to relate in advance that this has consequences afterwards. Because you find yourself in a crowd of people, but you're just alone. Right now, it's so hard for me to ask anyone for food. Even if we don't have food, she can tell you. I can suffer while we are laughing. Because I was raised up knowing you cannot reach out to anyone. Then we are raised up in those days where you could not even eat chapati in a neighbor's house. Now, me, I'm raised up by my grandmom. She doesn't know how to make chapati. She knows how to make food without cooking oil. All our food mostly was boiled food. Boiled githeri, boiled doma, boiled mandizi. So now when, now the people in the village start, marrying and these young ladies are cooking nice food, you can't go there. So I'm born and raised up by my grandmom, and she's still alive today, and she's everything to my life. And she gave me everything. When I needed the love of a mother, it's from her I got. When I needed a sibling to play with, it's my grandmother I used to play with. When I needed a father, she was my father. When I was sent from school, she was the guardian. So, growing up that way, it has really affected life because, it's like you're brought up in a box. You really don't know how fathers respond. You don't know how. I don't have any memory of my mom ever pinching me because she wasn't even there to pinch. And those were the days where Nairobi people would come to the village Easter and Christmas. So I actually got to know that she is my mom, like biological mother, when I'm in class 3 going to class 4. I knew she was one of the aunties who comes. And those were the days when aunties were coming with, biscuits and everything. So I really got to know she's my biological mother when I'm in class 3 going to class 4. So growing up in that kind of a scenario, it was good for me because I was the boss of the house. I was everything. There's no grandfather. It's just me and my grandmom. But then later on in life, you realize life is not a vacuum.
I hear them say, when you are raised by your grandmother, you become a spoiled child.
Now, my case...
That one I'm not going to ask. I will ask her. She's the only one who can tell us.
Yeah, she can tell better. She can tell better.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you are raised here in Nairobi, where did you go to school?
I went to school in Rescos Primary for my primary education. Then went to Gitwe Girls for my high school. And that is one thing that our parents, despite their issues with income, that is one thing they have really given us, making sure that regardless of what, because I remember when I was going for my high school, we didn't have any money. So I had to apply for sponsorship. And that sponsorship was approved the morning I'm supposed to report. So even reported to Gitwe Girls late, around 5:30, thereabout. Well, I was waiting for the check to be approved. Then, by the grace of God, we've proceeded for my degree, still under the custody and the help of my parents. So I would say that is what they have really invested. Despite us being in one room, they have really invested in our education. Yeah.
So are they still preaching?
My mom passed on in 2014. My dad is still preaching in Horoma.
Oh, here in Nairobi?
Yes, yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So with your grandmother, did you ever go to church?
Now, with my grandmom, we started in the Catholic Church.
Okay.
And what I remember mainly about the Catholic Church is that there was an Italian priest. There was an Italian priest those days. There were so many of them. So what attracted me to the church is his Kikuyu, the tongue. So he used to speak Kikuyu in a very funny way. Because of that, his mother tongue, Italian interruption. So it really attracted me to church. So every Sunday evening, we would have a retake of the church in the house. So what I had done is I had gotten a sack, a gunia. Then the bottom side, I had drilled a hole here for the hands and the center for the head. So I think I started pastoring my grandmother because every evening I would do the tongue the way he was doing it. And I would remember everything he said. So I was raised up in the Catholic Church.
With that
gunia, every Sunday I had to do the missa.
You were the priest in the house?
In the house, I was the priest.
Okay.
I was the priest in the house, and actually the neighbors knew that I would be an altar boy. Yeah, because I was doing it voluntarily without even being appointed. So they knew if I got an appointment, I could have done a better job. I could have done a better job. But then in class 2, my grandmom was invited for a convention that was happening in the PCA church. So when she went there, she came back home crying. So I asked her, what is it? Because now me, I'm a kid and she's crying. She said, I went there and I found Jesus. So I was wondering, where is this Jesus? So I did not understand his salvation. So she told me, I have found Jesus and we will not be going to the Church of the Father. We'll be going to the PCA. So that's how now we shifted into the Presbyterian Church, which became for me a big blessing because now that's now my foundations. From now, class 3, that's how now I got into the Presbyterian Church. And immediately I joined the Sunday school. I only did Sunday school for 2 years. I did Sunday school for 2 years. In class 5, I joined the youth. That was now university students, young couples. So I joined the youth while I was in class 5. And what happened is one day we were going for the Sunday school practice for drama or something, our skit. Then the youths were having their practice session on Saturday for the following day for the service. But then there was no one on the drum set. So me, I entered with my church orientation. I found there was no one on the drum set. I sat on the drum set. No, sat where the drum set was to play the drums. So when I sat there, so they are singing me, I started playing my own things. Now, spiritually enough, whatever I was playing was coordinating with what they were singing. So they thought I knew how to play the drum set. So because the drummist was not in that Saturday, the following day they asked me to play in church. So I played in church while I was in class 5, and the rest is history. So that's how I joined the youth group in class 5.
So what is the history?
So the history here is that I never went back to Sunday school. So I became an adult in class 5.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
joined the youth team. They used to have parish fellowships. So we used to walk long distances. Some places they would even carry me because I was still, it's only now that grace for the body has come. That time I was very small.
Thank God for Monica.
Yeah, thank God for her. Actually, if those, when we used to be in the youth group here, we were very tiny. But now you see grace has happened. Okay. Through her hands. Yeah, so and, that's it.
You are in Nyeri.
Yes.
She's in Nairobi.
Yes.
How did you guys ever come to meet, and where did you meet?
Wow, that's now the most interesting part. And this is how you know that all things works together for good. And I would want even to say to even those that are viewing us, this Wednesday night, that there are things that happens in our lives now, and they have, there's a way they come to tie up later on in life. There's something you may consider like a loss right now, but without, it's only that we're not able to see the wider picture. Because what happened, I studied in the local primary school, which was like, it was our neighbor. So actually, like in my primary school, the bell used to wake me up. Then I just cross, I get into school. Then after my primary school, I went to a high school, a provincial one. So in the provincial school that I went to in Form 1, when I stepped in on a Tuesday, the CU guys came in the evening, and they wanted to know how many people are saved. So me, I raised up my hand. When I raised up my hand, we were taken to the dining hall, and they wanted to know who amongst you plays an instrument. From class 5, I'm a drummist. Now, this is why I say that all things work together for good. At times, there are painful things that happen, and we cannot see tomorrow. But there is something else about the pain, because, weeping may endure through the night, joy comes in the morning. So when I say that I play the drums, now, spiritually enough, the following day, they see you are buying a drum set. So amongst all the people that raised their hands, I became the unique one, because I was the only one who could play the drum set, which was coming in on Wednesday. So on Wednesday night, I became the assistant choir leader. This is Tuesday reporting, Wednesday night, CU choir leader. Now, that same term, there was a CU rally in a girls' school called Gatuge Girls. So being the assistant choir leader, I have to go. So, and being the drummist, I have to go with the choir. So we went for the CU rally. Now, when we went for that CU rally, there was a team that had come from Nyeri to that school, and they were ministering. It was the rally. So I was so attracted to the one that was playing the bass guitar, which he doesn't play now. He only played the bass guitar for me that time. So I was so attracted to him. So after we were done with the rally, I approached him. I told him, I like what you're doing. I play the drum sets, but I would want to know how to play the bass guitar. So I told him, why don't you give me your address? That time there was no phones, no email, no nothing. I can still remember it was PO Box 24 Nyeri. So I told him, give me your address, then I'll write you. So he gave me his address. So we went back to school. I wrote him letters. He was a young man. I wrote him letters. He never replied even one. I tried looking for him. I could not find him. Now, fast forward. I come to Nairobi after my high school. And when I come to Nairobi, I was studying at the Kenya Polytechnic. I was attending lunch hours. That time, we had not come to Uchumi House. So I was attending lunch hours in one of the churches in Nairobi. So the pastor that was pastoring that church was working with Dr. Cecil Stewart. There was an old man from Ireland, used to do Deciding Your Destiny programs in Kenya. So he said that because I'm not working, he can invite me where he was working. They were having a job where they would send letters to partners. So our work was to get the letters, fold them, put them in envelopes, put a sticker for the partner either in Kisumu, Nakuru, wherever we send. So the first time I went there, I noted this man. He alikuwa amenyoa box. He had shaved box. Alikuwa amenyoa box. So I looked at this man, and something about him reminded me of the man I had met in Form 1. You know, it's just like the story you gave us of this lady who, every time he was seeing the preacher's beard, she was remembering her goat or something. So every time I would look at him, it would remind me of that man. So the second day, I gathered courage. I asked him, do you know Pastor Willie? He says, yes, that's my brother. I asked him, have you ever been to a CU rally in a school, a girls' school in Northern? He said, yes. I asked him, do you remember this year? Yes. Were you the ones ministering? He said, yes, we were. I asked him, why did I send you letters? And you never replied even one of them. So he was so surprised that I would remember him. He was not even remembering about the letters. But everything I told him connected to the CU rally. Now, that man happened to be one of the associate pastors in the church where she was going. So after we reconnected, they would invite us for the occasions. So we were having a meeting every Sunday afternoon, a fellowship. So I invited him to come and preach. So when he came for the fellowship, he came with the way preachers come with, you know, people from their church. So he came with people from their church. Now one of the persons, not now the people, was her. And while he was ministering, I was playing the keyboard. So he was leading worship. People were closing their eyes. Me, I was opening my eyes because you have to see what you're playing. So in the process of playing this keyboard, I noted one of the ladies. She was standing right at the back. I noted one of the ladies, and one, she was beautiful. Two, she was very serious in her worship because those days it was not very easy to cry when you worship. But she was worshiping and she was crying. So whatever he preached that day, me, I don't know. And I'm the one who invited him, but I don't know which text he read. What he said, I do not know. After he was done and we sat down, I asked him, who is the lady that you said? The lady is part of the people you came with. There's one lady I saw, she was standing at the back. Akaniambia wewe acha huko ako form 4 bado. Nikamwambia lakini form 4 hajakorogewa si atatoka. You know, so that's how we met. A man I had met in my Form 1, we reconnected in Nairobi, you know, mysteriously. Now he's the one who brought her to a meeting where we were. And from there now, a man has to do what a man has to do. He has to approach.
Wow.
Yes.
Now that is from Steve's perspective.
Yes.
How did you meet him?
Yes.
Wow. I'm sure you didn't see. You were not worshiping and you just saw Steve. Or you had the angel saying, Steve, Steve.
Actually, I didn't notice him. As he said, I was in Form 4. So I was really focused in my studies. So I go back to school and I clear my high school. When I come back home, a team in our church and their church, they're so busy doing outings, parties, prayer meetings. And I'm thinking, I should join this team. So when I join them, they are so neat, yes. And I'm wondering, how do I become part of this team? Then I noticed this guy is very good. He's very good in stories. You never get bored. And I was like, wow, this guy is a good storyteller. I'd love to be friends with him. But he never had any instincts on me. He was actually too much on my sisters other than me. So I was like, oh, okay. So one day, after one of the meetings we had, we actually had a birthday party with the Pastor John, the guy he's talking about. Then Pastor John tells him, zindikisha yo msichana. Make sure ameingia kwa Nissan. I was going to my aunt's in Kahawa Sukari. I don't know if it was intentional. So on our way down to Tomboya, the guy's like, yeah, I'd like to buy you chips one of these fine days. I'm like, oh, okay. We'll organize, because by that time I was working in uniform distributors. So I told him, we'll organize one of the days when I come to, after you're done with your meetings, we meet in town. So an evening we meet for our chips. I can't forget that hotel. It's called Masters Hotel. And we have fries. I loved fries. I still have chips. So while I'm taking my fries, he's giving me a story of this lady that he wants. And he's ready. And he has no time for dating or anything. He just wants to get married. And then outright, this guy is sending me to my older sister. So I'm wondering, this is our first meeting and you're telling me of another lady. Then, when towards the end of the meeting, he's like, it is you. I want to marry you. Hiya, is that how people are proposed to?
From the village, that it is the way.
I was like, what? That one I have never had. My parents are very strict. I can't even tell my mom I have a boyfriend. So for now, tuachie mambo tu hapo. Then he was like, no, you go think about it. I told him, my friend, I have to do my degree. I have to do my master's. Will wait for me 13 years.
Yeah, he gave me 13 years.
Yes, I told him, unless you wait for 13 years, then I was like, it's okay, let's see what will happen. And he waited.
13 years?
Not 13 years, he waited for
13 years would have ended 6 years ago. The 13 years she had given me would have ended 6 years ago.
Wow.
So he waited for 4 years ago.
He waited for 4 years.
4 years.
He waited for me to join university. I did my university. I graduated. I graduated in August. I got married in December.
Wow.
2 graduations in 1 year.
I tell you.
Yeah.
Wow. That was quite something.
Yeah.
And at that time, are you going to the same church or you in different churches?
We are going in different churches. He's in Githurai, Grace Tabernacle.
Yes.
I was in Umoja, First Love, Umoja. But because of Pastor John and the missions we used to do together, we used to do a lot of school ministry. So he would come to our church majorly and we'd also go. We actually had 4 churches that we used to do monthly keshas. This month we're in Githurai, the other month we're in Umoja, the other month we're in Kikuyu. That's how we used to interchange. So we are all this time in different churches, but the pastor knew all along.
Okay. Yeah. So you shared with the pastor and how did he come to know?
Our pastor now is now another long story.
Make it short.
When I came to Nairobi, along the way, I had to eject from PCA because now when we brought in the guitars, a lot of music, then there was an issue. It's like we brought in disco into the church. So most of the young people during that dispensation ejected from PCA and joined Pentecostal churches. So I was part of that group that ejected from the PCA and we joined a Pentecostal church. So I went and sat under Reverend John Kerade in Udhaya. So when I came to Nairobi, I'm new in Nairobi, I don't know my way out in Nairobi. So I only used to go to a church which was in town. Then I went to Githurai. Now in Githurai, what happened is that pretty much the year when we were to plan our wedding, there were some issues with the church which I pointed out, and the pastor of the church was not really comfortable with me giving advice. But for me, I had had it, and I can almost certainly say I had heard God about the same. It was issues of finance, and his family. So he said, when you grow up, you'll be a pastor, but for now, you don't qualify to advise. So he asked me, do you want to leave? I said, I think I would want to. That is the month of June when my wedding is supposed to be in December.
Yeah.
So I moved out of that church angry, and I had vowed I would never play a keyboard in any other church. I will never serve in any other church, because up until that moment, it's like my worst moments had been now, with and around church. But I did not know, like I said, there was something in the future, and God was training me. So I ejected from the church peacefully and, got out. Then one of the days I was walking in town, Aga Khan Walk, there was a lunch hour that was going on upstairs. So I had told myself I would never serve in a church. So I said, let me just go listen to the music. So I went in for the lunch hour and I found people singing. So that's how I saw the banner. And I saw this is the pastor of our TV. And I remember in the village, I used to see, neighbors, most of the Sunday mornings, Bishop Mark Karaoke, Bishop Mark Karaoke. At that time it was Pastor Mark, then Bishop Mark Karaoke. And I was like, finally, at least I'm in a church which is recognizable. The pastor of TV is the pastor here. So that is how I reconnected with Deliverance Church, Uchumi House. So by the time we were doing our wedding, I was pretty new. Nobody knew me at all. So when we were planning our wedding and doing the wedding, our wedding was done one-sided. There was only the church where the lady was fellowshipping. Hakukuwa na kanisa mvulana. The side of the groom, there was no church. Even the committee meetings is university girls. She studied at Kiri University, so the girls that she was studying with, they were our committee members. So there was no one from my family, because again, if I can take some steps back quickly, when I joined myself with church, it wasn't really taken nicely by the family, because since Adam to where we are seated now, I'm the only pastor that clan has seen. So I entered into a field that we don't have a predecessor. I was not like where I've grown up in is you are asked unafanana nani. So I didn't have anyone that I was following in his or her footsteps. So my being in church was not taken lightly. And most of my cousins disconnected because now they would go for parties I could not go. Our family has a gift in drinking. I did not participate in that gift. So everyone is a drunkard, from the men, the ladies. I did not participate in that. So I became very unique. Unique in the sense of I did not follow in the footsteps. So even towards the preparation of the wedding, nobody in my family came for those preparations, the wedding committees. So even during the wedding day, my grandmom was very supportive. For her, she was like, as long as you love the lady, she was very supportive. But I cannot remember, I cannot count like 5 people that I would say came for, the wedding and so on and so forth. So by the time we were doing the wedding, it was her family, her church, her friends. Now, I didn't have friends because I left my friends in Githurai, that church. So I did my wedding there were no friends, there was no family, and there was no church. But by the grace of God, we did a debt-free wedding. We did a debt-free wedding, and people ate. People ate more than what they had expected to come and eat. And that's the supply of grace. Because I had started working, that's another story now.
Actually, before even we did our wedding, also besides him joining the ministry fully, which was not even paying him, he was earning 200 per Sunday.
That is 800 per month.
800 per
Lesser
month.
than a house girl.
Yeah. So when he brought the news that he's marrying, they asked him, have you even taken care of yourself before you bring in someone else? Or do you want to bring problems? You already enough problem to us. Yeah, so him organizing a wedding was out of the norm. And we were wondering, how are you going to manage this as a full-time pastor, as you call yourself? Yeah, so that was actually another doing of the Lord.
In actual fact, my mom vowed not to come for the wedding.
Did come for the wedding?
She vowed and she said she will not come because she felt I was too young, number one. I was around 25. 2, I had never bought anything for myself. At all. I had nothing that I had bought for myself. So she could not reconcile how I would start feeding somebody's daughter and I have never done anything for myself. So right now I understand. That time I didn't understand what she was doing. But out of a mother's love, she did not want the shame that I'm bringing in a lady. And then maybe she thought we would, she stays in Nairobi, so maybe she thought we would go and hibernate or live with her in her house. So she said she would not come for the wedding. So amazingly, what happened on our wedding day, one of my distant uncles went for my mom in the house. And he told her, you have to go to that wedding. So if you look at the clip or the pictures, my mom is not seated where the parents were supposed to be seated. She was one of the congregation members. She sat amongst the people, and they had to sit with her so that she doesn't go. because she felt this will be outrightly shameful. So we did the wedding now without friends, without the church, without close people, and my mom came by force. My mom came by force, and but all in all, the wedding was good. We did the wedding, and the Lord graced us. The Lord graced us, and we found ourselves together. We moved to Moja, moved to Moja. Like she said, the first time she slept in a house which had more than one room. Yeah. So if there are any trophies that people can be given, at least I should be given. I should be given one trophy
for taking her into a
house which is more than one room.
More than one room.
More than one room, and the toilet is inside.
Wow.
Yes.
I tell you.
So even if I don't ever do anything else for her, I did. What I did is good. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And so that time you have started coming to...
Yes, the house of bread.
The house of bread.
Actually, after our wedding, the first service we fellowshipped, me had been fellowship for like a month. So after our wedding, we sat and I told them, at least I found church now. I'm not floating. So we found church, we found home. So after our wedding, the house of bread, while we were at Uchumi house, now that became now our home. Yeah, it became our home. And it's a home like no other.
Wow.
It's a home like no other.
And now, how many children do you have?
She knows.
We have 3 children, 2 girls, 1 boy.
Okay.
13 years, 10 years, and 3 years.
13 years.
Yes.
Okay, I'm still remembering his 13 years.
Of waiting.
Yeah, 13 years.
Yes, 13 years. She'll be doing her KCSE this year in November, December. Yes.
Okay. And where are you?
Now we're in Machakos. What happened is we used to fellowship here. She's the one who pushed me into looking for a job, because that time I was doing full-time ministry, for the passion and the love of it. It wasn't coerced. I loved it. But like she said, the pastor will give me 200 shillings when the coins would be enough. If they count the coins and they are 178, you get 178. If the coins are more than 200, because they would pay me in coins, I get the 200. So one time she asked me, for how long will you do this? Why don't you work? And I told her, no, I don't want to work for men. I want to work for God. I told her, I've been called. So she told me, now, you see, Mondays to Saturday, what do you do? I told her, I'm in the house waiting for Sunday. So she said, no, instead of waiting for Sunday, so she made me a promise. She said, why don't you work now while I'm in the university? Now, once I'm done, I'll get a job. Then you can stop working. I will finance you as far as ministry is concerned. Now, what I did not know is that it's like she threw some, maize beans for me to eat. Then she caught me the way she wanted. That's why I started wanting. Yeah, she caught me like a chicken.
Why I had to tell him that, because I've been brought up by pastors. And I've seen how you struggle as a pastor. Then I'm wondering, I'm getting myself into another pastor. So I knew once I convinced him to get employed and get some money, the money may entice him and forget about pastoring.
In actual fact, she had actually said she doesn't want to be married by a pastor.
Yeah, I've been in that
categorically, I don't want to be married by a pastor. Because her background, like she's saying, wasn't really, fulfilling. It's like they had suffered a lot because the parents are givers. Like the mom was a giver. She could give everything for the sake of the ministry. So in the process, the kids got her. So she didn't want to get married to a pastor. So she told me to work, and the first job I got was I was a messenger. And they were paying me 3,000 shillings at Wilson Airport, and I'm staying in Githurai 44. So I used to walk longer than the matatus I would take per day. So at least, you could have something. So what happened, long story short, worked at Wilson Airport. While we did our wedding, I was still working at Wilson Airport. Then she got a job with a bank here in Nairobi. Then that contract terminated. Then she had applied for a job while we were still here. She applied for a job. Then 3 years after, they did not respond. They did not respond. And I think that's why I keep telling the viewers, not everything that is missing right now is the final thing. There's always something after this. There's always something that happens after. She applied for a job, and for 3 years, they did not respond. They did not even tell her she did not qualify.
No response.
No response, no nothing. So 3 years after, she gets a call that she goes to one of the houses in Nairobi for an interview. So she told me, I told her, because they've not asked you for money, it's not a scam as of now. You go. And that time she didn't have a job. So she goes for the interview. She does the interview. And then they are told we will respond. Then after 2 weeks, they respond. And she's told, you passed, please come for another one. She went for another one. And then they are told, now we'll respond again. The next response they give is that she has gotten the job. But now there was a problem, just one. There are no jobs in Nairobi. You're being posted to any other town. There was Othaya, there was Nanyuki, there was Machakos, there was Mombasa. So, and you are not to choose. Because they said if you choose, maybe all the people would choose one town, and it will not be possible for the company that was, outsourcing for a particular bank here. So the one she was given was Mombasa. So when she came home, she told me she has been posted, she has the job, it's paying well, but it's Mombasa. Our daughter that time was how old?
1 year, 7 months.
So we have a 1 year, 7 months daughter and a house girl in the house. So now the logistics were how to balance these 3 girls against 1 man. Because there is her, the house girl, and our daughter. And I was the only man in this house. So we had to do like the way they say, a man has a sheep and a leopard and, and cabbages. How do you do this? So we agreed that, I could remain with the house girl and our daughter, and then we get someone else to be in the house. Then she goes to Mombasa. Then every week, like this week, we drop with my daughter our daughter to Mombasa. Then the following week, she comes and sees us. The other week, so every month, we drop twice, she comes up twice. And we agreed, we said that's what we're going to do for now. We see if it works, because I was working and now she's gotten a job. Now, on the day when they were to go for their letters of engagement, she was seated at the reception's desk, that waiting area, and there was another young girl there, and they started talking. The girl said, oh, imagine they've sent me to Machakos, of all places, Machakos. I wish we again. And then she was like, you would want to go to Machakos, she said, I've been sent to Mombasa. The girl said, you're so lucky. I wish they sent me to Mombasa. So her, with her quick thinking, she's a mathematics person, I'm a literature person. She did quick mathematics. She was like, Machakos, I can be sleeping at home. And I commute to Machakos, and we are staying in Othero, and I go to Othero. So she asked the lady, would you want us to swap? The lady was like, you're God sent. God has sent you for me. And they went and told the HR, we've agreed that I go to Machakos, she goes to Mombasa. The HR said, that's okay, if you've agreed, that's okay. That is how we found ourselves in Machakos.
Yeah.
That's how we found ourselves in Machakos. So it wasn't
But still,
pre-planned.
before he came to Machakos, he's never had a thought of Machakos.
Never.
His retirement plan was Nakuru.
We're even looking for land.
Yeah, we buy land. We have a big farm, a retirement plan. So, also even coming up with the idea of Machakos was like, hey, my friend, you be commuting. We will help you. I'll be picking you from the bus, because we were living in Othero, so from Domboine to our house, it's a distance. So he was like, I'll be picking you, I'll be supporting you on that. So I committed for 2 weeks. From Othero to Machakos, I get to the house, I'm tired. In the morning, I have to leave by 4. I was like, wow, this is not working. He told me, tomorrow I'm coming to pick you in Machakos. And I'm thinking, hiya, ameguzwa.
I get touched a lot.
So he came to Machakos, and he came with our best man. I wondered, what? So they were coming to look for a house, and he didn't tell me. He came, we went around looking for a house, and I was like, yeah, I've felt your pain. We will settle in Machakos because of you. So that is how we moved to Machakos and settled. And now it was him to commute to Wilson. He was still working in Wilson as an accountant. So he had to be commuting every day. But najua wazee na shida.
No, maliza story. Wazee ni nini?
Yeah, so he commuted, and we are in Machakos now.
Yeah.
11 years.
But we still used to come to the House of Bread.
Yes.
From Machakos.
Every Sunday.
We used to come to the House of Bread every Sunday. Now, the only thing was that now we wouldn't really participate in the weekday meetings. But every Sunday, we actually were doing 2 services. We would come in for the first service, at times find it going, then it's done, then we sit, then we move a bit in front now. And that used to be the best part, where we move in front, when others are going out, we move in front and we get nice seats. Yeah.
And now you in Machakos, you're no longer an accountant.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, that's the other story.
Yes.
So, he's an accountant, he's earning very good money. Then he was like, when I got the second baby, when I was pregnant with the second baby, commuting to Nairobi became a bit a tall order. So we reduced our coming to Nairobi. We tried getting a church in Machakos. So eventually we were like, let's start a fellowship. I can sing, you can preach, let's start a fellowship. And we opted to start a fellowship in our house. But our daughter was telling us, "Is your kanisa, mami? Hapa ni nyumbani." So we thought, I mean, we can afford like a small shop so that our daughter can see a change. So we moved out to a kiosk, had started fellowship, and we were just our households. Myself, him, our house girl, and my sister. And that's how we started. And at least because of the school ministry, we had instruments with us. So we had speakers, we had a keyboard. So he would play the keyboard, I'm singing, preaches, I collect the offering, and we go back home.
But I carry the offering. I carry. Yeah.
And we went, and that's how we did, that's how we started the fellowship. And eventually it peaked. We had 2 members, we had 3 members. We settled at around 7 members for some time. And we're like, oh, this kiosk is growing. Why don't we move to a better place where we can accommodate people? Then we got the land where we are and pitched up a tent. He's still working as an accountant, and we were still comfortable. At least he's earning, I'm earning, and the ministry is growing. But in the verge of doing ministry, while he was working in Wilson, the church was not growing, because he's only available on Saturday and Sunday. Every other time he's in Nairobi working. Then he just started playing with the idea of, I think I will go full-time. Hey, that was a disaster. I'm wondering. But I thought, I mean, I'm still working, so we can survive with our income before church peaks. Bishop, I tell you, when he resigned, we've not seen what we are seeing right now. There was a difference between when he was working and when he's full-time. Yes, he's been there, he's there the whole day, but the growth of the church, the members, the quality, even his preaching, you know, he was now not tired on Sunday, he was fresh and waiting to deliver. So, despite the salary, we can say we've surely seen God even when he's full-time. Yes.
See, the first time I came to the House of Bread, you were preaching. And I got offended because it's like you read my mind. So I've come from a church where, you know, things were not working, and I was very offended. So my first Sunday, I think it's like you had my mind. In the process of preaching, you stopped. You said, I want you to know, the way you do and you clap your hands, I want you to know that in this church, I'm the one who is called. Because from where I was sitting, I had started entertaining the thought of maybe one day. Maybe one day I'll be preaching there. You stopped preaching. You said, I want you to know, I'm the one who is called here. Then you pointed at the altar. You said, and you see, unaona hii madhabahu? Hii ni yangu. Wewe kama unataka, utaenda utafute yako. Hata kama ni across the street, utaenda utafungua, and we will support you. And then you went on with the preaching. So I was like, I didn't know that God speaks to people like us, that he can stop the preaching. And then you only said, if God has called you, you can even go across the street, and we'll support you. So when we went to Machakos, that's the same thing I remembered. I remember that he said, if God has called you, you start. So when we went to Machakos, what we did, we just started. What I have realized is that, and people ought to know this, it's important to be careful the grace you sit under. You know, there's something you have always said, even during the apostolic visits, that the anointing flows from the head. It is true. It is true, because when we went to Machakos, we sat in a sub-region meeting, a Deliverance Church sub-region meeting, and one of the elderly pastors told us, you see, in this town, you will be here for 7 years, but you will never be 40 of you. That's the culture here. So he told us, mulitafuta kitu ingine mkaona mwanze kanisa. And more so here in Ukambani, and you people where you come from, the dynamics there are very different. Now Ukambani, the dynamics are different also. So he told us that for 7 years, we'll never be 40 members. When we pitched the tent, you know, and you know, Pastor Dixon came, you know, you sent him because he talked to you, and you told him it's okay, he can come and he can pray. So he came. When we pitched the tent, that year, by the end of that year, we were more than 100 of us. So they had told us that we can never be more than 40 in 7 years. The first year we surpassed 40. Now, what we have seen in Machakos, I keep telling people, we are from the house of bread. One of the things I realized, and she was telling now, you know, the people we pastor will tell you, we don't struggle with projects. If we want to do anything, like now last year, which is 2021, in the month of March, we generated enough faith. We said that we are going to buy church land. Now, Bishop, we pastor university students. We don't pastor, you know, we have those who are working in the elderly a bit, but the majority of them, 70–75%, is university students. Now, last year, March, we started a project, and we said by December, we'll buy church land. Now, between March and November, with the university students and COVID and the lockdown, what they were calling the zone lockdown, between March and November, we raised enough money to buy 2 plots of land in Machakos. And, you know, people keep asking, how are you doing this? And I tell them, you see, it's the grace you sit under. You know, right now we have 2 sanctuaries in the same town, and we've not seen that there. Because what we see, you know, in Machakos is people who started churches in the 80s, the 90s, and they're still there. Churches are still the same. You know, you find most of the men of God don't even have their own houses. We built our house in 2020 when there was COVID. We bought church land last year, December. We started building the church this year, February. On Sunday, we had our first service there.
In the new sanctuary. In the new sanctuary.
So we are having like a house of bread, majestic city kind of a setup. So we have the first service in the city of prayer, then the second service at Mount Zion. Now all this speed, you know, you look at it and you realize it cannot be different because, you know, the grace we sat under told us, if you have a calling, go start. And that's what we did. We just went and started. And right now it will be very unlikely for anyone to talk about churches in Machakos right now. And you don't talk about Deliverance Church, Machakos, the City of Prayer, and Mount Zion. Yeah.
But it has not been an easy journey, Bishop.
I think it's better for
Yeah.
You know, people might think, yeah, these people are from heaven. No. Bishop, we've lived in a 2-roomed house, paying 9,000. And other pastors are wondering, why are you living in the same...
Why are you not shifting?
Why are you not shifting and live in a house of 30,000? You're living where university students are living. You're living in a rate where your members are paying the same kind of a rent. But Bishop, you were wondering, he's now full-time. Later on in 2016, I resigned from the bank. And are you moving houses to please people? Or is it for a bigger picture? So despite what God has done, it is an uphill. And one thing we have overcome is the disease called OPO, other people's opinion. That disease has not, we are vaccinated from it. We do not listen to what people say.
You don't have those genes.
No. Because we realized if we had listened to what people were really, and fine, we felt bad. We felt like, yeah, we are pastors. We should live in a 30,000 house. We should live in a house where you come and you're like, wow, those seats are from, why, you know? But we were like, the bigger picture. Fine, we live at a 30,000 house. Our kids are in a very expensive private school, and then what? What is at the end of the day? And what is within our reach? What can we afford? So we really struggled, and we've seen God. That now we are in our own 5-bedroom house, and only God can do that.
Wow. You know, we have lots of pastors out there.
Yes.
Who have seen what other people have done, and they say, that's where I want to be. But they don't want to go through the pain of getting to that point. It's important when we let the people know it's not just a smooth tarmac road. There are potholes, there are challenges that you will face. Well, we bless the Lord for what he is doing. What was your parents feeling? How did they behave when you took him that you were going to get married to a pastor?
My dad was very happy. Him being a pastor. Okay, he had two reactions. The first reaction is, this girl is so young. She has just graduated. Na sijakula pesa yake. And this guy wants to get to marry her. So he had two reactions. The marriage issue was didn't really go with, well with him. But now, being married, bringing in a pastor or someone with ministry in him, that was like, oh, someone is taking up my mantle in the family. So he had two reactions, which, but now he's very proud of him as a pastor. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
And your sisters?
My sisters are very, actually they look up to him as the biggest, as the bigger brother, elder brother, and they call him even without telling me, letting me know, and they are asking for advice. And on our girls' WhatsApp, they are reporting. Niliongea na Steve akaniambia 1, 2, 3. I'm thinking, oh, so he's actually our family advisor
with no pay.
With no pay, but yeah, so he's really well accepted, and because he has really taken up that mantle, especially when my mom passed on, we really needed someone we can talk to and just bring the family together and be that bigger picture in the family. So.
And what church politics have you faced in Machakos even?
Wow, now that's another open forum, open talk forum. You know, it's always
in brief.
It's always so hard for people to accept that you've done what you could have done and you got here. But someone else has come with a newer way of doing things and they look destined to go further. So I think the region had really, you know, stayed in a place where they were comfortable, where they were. But now when we came in and we told them that we have come from, actually when we mentioned the word house of bread, it was a shocker because they knew, you know, like I've said, people should be watchful of the graces that they sit under. They knew that the grace and the genes that are being called house of bread, that's being at the Bishop Mark Karaoke, they knew these were not people that were coming to settle in. Were not coming to blend in. They knew that would cause a revolution.
We actually called ourselves the house of bread.
Yeah, everything, even the bank accounts are house of bread. But now, you know, we were told that there cannot be two house of breads. I think it was, you know, it's like, it was taken like we were intimidating them. So they said, no, we will not give the name house of bread. We will use another name. That's how we came up with the City of Prayer. But we had done everything from the bank accounts as the house of bread. So what I would say is that with what God is doing with us, we have seen so many other people are encouraged and challenged, and the region is rising. It's rising. And
despite the oppositions and the politics, if you have a mandate, if you have an assignment, you always rise above the assignment. You always rise above the politics. You always rise. You don't fight with the ducks. You go up. You're an eagle. Yes.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. It's really been a great pleasure having you at the Open Talk and listening to your story and knowing that in Machakos we have a church.
Yes, we do.
We have a church that is affecting the community.
Yes,
because that's what we were called to do.
Yes.
We were not called to build a denomination.
No.
We're not called to build an organization, but we are called to build the church of Jesus Christ, which will affect the lives of the people positively.
Yes.
And I can tell you, you have my blessings.
Amen.
You go and do what God has called you to do in Machakos. You want to start another congregation?
Yes.
Go ahead and start.
We will.
You want to buy another plot? Go ahead and plot. That is one advantage of being in Deliverance Church.
Yes.
And where you have the freedom to grow and to exploit your calling to the maximum.
Amen.
Thank you so very much. When you get back, you will take our greetings to the saints in Machakos, and the Lord will bless you. For tonight, thank you so much, our viewers. This is your pastor and your friend for a long time, Bishop Mark Karaoke, coming to you through Open Talk with Steve and Monica Turunga. And they have been a blessing to us. Please write to us, send a text message, send a comment, do something, and let us know what God is doing. And when you go to Machakos, you can look for Deliverance Church, City of Prayer.
Yes.
Where are you located?
We are right opposite adjacent to the university.
Adjacent to
Machakos University.
Yeah, Machakos University. Yeah, that's the easiest way to tell people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you can, when you go to Machakos, you go to the City of Prayer or Mount Zion, and you will find Steve and Monica. They are pastoring. May the Lord richly bless you. We love you and we value you. We'll see you again this coming Wednesday night. God bless you.